Just go out there and do it. Don't give up. Fail and get up and do it again.
Welcome to Finding America. I'm on a 13,000-mile road trip to meet Finnish Americans and figure out why they want to be here and learn about cultural differences. You'll meet exciting Finns and hear about their journeys in America. Alright, we're going on a hike with Don Pekka.
Peace.
Let's go. My first stop after Orange County was San Francisco. Pekka and his wife housed me in Palo Alto during my stay. This area is quite familiar for me, as I've spent quite a lot of weekends with my grandparents here as well. I was absolutely starving after an 8-hour-long drive, so I was lucky that Pekka had prepared some pizza for us. Additionally, I got to enjoy Pekka's amazing vegan cooking each day while staying with them. Pekka is known as Don Pekka, as he's been helping Finnish entrepreneurs come to San Francisco for quite some time.
So the only license plate you can have in California is Perkele. Or if you want to be nicer, it could be only Finjeep. Peace.
Oh, before we get on with the show, it would mean the world to me, and it would help me creating content like this in the future if you could subscribe, smash the like button, and maybe share this with a friend. See you next time. For someone who's never heard of you, how would you introduce yourself?
I'm Pekka. I'm Don Pekka, the Finnish godfather of Silicon Valley. I help navigate companies through the Silicon Valley from the point that they don't know what they don't know to the point that they know what they know. And that helps them to make decisions, what to do next.
Would you want to tell us a story of how you came to America and why specifically to America?
It has kind of 3 parts, probably. So originally I was here when I was an exchange student in Rhode Island, late 70s. My age now shows. That was an awesome experience, and I still have friends from that time, even though I was there 1 year. So I went to high school, so I always figured that, oh, this is cool, I want to come back and work. Early 90s, I worked at the Ambassador of Finland in Washington, D.C. for 2 years. I was thinking of staying then and actually going into do an MBA, but it was a really bad economic times in early 90s. So we figured out with my wife that we go back to Finland and maybe move to Berlin or something, because there's a lot of stuff happening over there. We didn't, because both of us got jobs in Finland kind of by accident. Stumbled into some people and, hey, you want to help me here and there. There's a lot of opportunities here, or the opportunities for exits or the bigger markets or partnerships and all that kind of stuff. That's in the US. So if you think like, the 60% of the software companies, are in the US, or the exits are in the US and things like that. I took the company from Finland, established in the US in East Coast then. I never moved, but I was here all the time. I was here that much that all the people here, our potential clients and partners, they thought that I live in the US. The digital transformation of the world was happening here, which was not seen from Finland, because Finland was a Nokia country and everything was thought is mobile. But you cannot transfer the internet to mobile before it happens on the your laptops and desktops and all that kind of stuff, because the bandwidth was not there. This was all the events and parties and technology development, and the people were here. Probably the plan was to be here like 2 years. Now, 23 years later, still here.
I've been trying to think about this for the 10 years I've been here, and what is it really that makes me want to be here? Because there's a lot of reasons why I don't want to be here. There's a lot of things that I don't like.
Oh, yeah.
But they're not strong enough still to overpower something that I can't explain. I think part of it's probably the excitement that Americans have and their friendliness, even though they're, a lot of them can be a bit special. But there's still some sort of friendliness and warmth that I don't really see back home.
Yeah.
The sense of, even though America is individualistic, it's still you know, very based on family and this old school family hierarchy of getting people together and helping people. When society isn't helping you, you have the families kind of help each other your parents pay for school and all these things. And in Finland, we're really taught to be individual and leave the nest as quick as possible. And I think one of the easiest examples of that is when you're 18 in Finland, you're really individual. Your parents don't have access to your bank accounts or can't do anything for you. When here, it doesn't matter if you're 18 or I think it probably ends at 22 or something, but you're very dependent on your family. And that's a very big change in how people act as well and how they grow up.
Yeah. Silicon Valley is not a place, it's a mindset. So that's one of those things. So part of the mindset is that what goes around comes around. And I think the startup scene in Finland and the Nordics are picking up, up that. And I like that because, I mean, you do favors for people that you really believe in and you like, and there's a reason, and there even doesn't have to be a reason, but you're not expecting to get anything back from them directly. And that's what goes around, comes around. It might come from, behind the corner or some other place, through third party or whatever. You usually get it back. So it's like good karma creates good karma. And that's the Silicon Valley mentality. So if you have something which is super cool, and I dig that, so I would, hey Santi, I love that. Let me introduce you to Susan or John because they're working on that. And I'm not expecting anything from you. So, I'm just happy that you found each other and something comes out of it. Yeah. And I might be there and said, yeah, that was really cool. I'm glad I saw that opportunity and put you guys together. I'm not expecting money. I'm not expecting, anything like that. Unless I'm really working with that, then it's different. But if I do that kind of an intro, something that I believe, that's the mindset. Another mindset is that you can approach anybody, anywhere. and that's kind of cool. And people do that. You can be annoying and stalking, but if you somewhere you can go and ask.
And persistence is very important. And we talked about this too, like following up, and there's a good difference between persistence and being annoying. Yeah. But sometimes, as we've noticed throughout, the stuff we worked on now, is it just pays to follow up. Yeah. And I think a Finnish mentality is like, I shouldn't follow up. I shouldn't. Yeah,
maybe I'll wait for a week. Yeah. Shit, that week is gone. And somebody else got it or something like that. So, I mean, it is what's stalking and what's, persistence. You get to learn that. And I bombard people. I just go after and I do give them a break. But I have to have always something new to offer. Yeah. So I cannot go with the same line email sending, did you see it? Did you see it? Did you take a look at that? I said, hey, something also happened that, that's the pros that you give also something. And I think one of the other things is that you cannot be always asking, you have to give something. If it's a meeting or if it's a whatever that is, the other person also, even though you are thirsty for the information from that, but you have to walk into that meeting to leave something. And it can be a little things that, share something what's happening like in Finland or Norway or wherever, what's happening, how do you see things there or something, then they go like, oh, I learned something.
People don't remember what you do, they remember how you make them feel. Yeah, yeah. How do you spend your free time when you're not working?
A lot of my work in the morning is having calls and to Europe. And after that, we go for walks. I mean, there's a nice hills here. You know that, you were up there.
Cue the B-roll.
But, that's something that, I gotta get that at least an hour exercise every day. In weekends, it's more. So I love that. Passion for cooking.
Cue second B-roll.
So I have that. I mean, that's something that's really my passion. And changing the diet 5 years ago changed that. It took me a year to get back where I was. Family, our oldest one now moved back from Brooklyn to Santa Cruz. They are, she's close. So that's something, but we a lot of the times combine that with hikes and things. So, and then hang out.
How do you define success?
Success to me means that you can do things that you love. So it's not monetary thing. It's not, wealth or anything that might come with that, but really is that you do the things that you love. A lot of the times, success is, oh, he's got this, or she's got that, all that kind of stuff. To me, success is in every category. Whatever you do, if you're doing things you love, I think you're successful and you're pretty damn lucky.
How do you bounce back from failures? Or is there something how do you treat failure in general?
You have to fail, right? That's if you don't fail, you're not pushing to the limits. So that's one thing. You can control in at least some of the failures, you can control. And you have to learn from the failures. I mean, if you fail same way 3 times, that's not working. But if you learn from the failures as much as from the wins, right? That's where you start putting things together and plan together and, go up.
I read somewhere that failure is only a failure unless you learn something from it.
That's a big difference between Finland and US, especially Silicon Valley. Here people fail and they freaking proud of it. When you learn about it, I'm not gonna do those things again. Of course, when the economic things change and something happens, pandemics, you can blame the others maybe, but that these are cycles, they come and go. So you have to be somewhat prepared that something happens that you cannot control. And then, you gotta, pivot fast. There's always an opportunities out there. In Finland, a lot of people treated failure differently. It was the end of the story. But I think the startup scene has changed that if this goes belly up, so there you go, start another one.
All right, Pekka, let's talk about Finnishness and Finland in general. So, do you think that there's something that makes Finnish people inherently unique?
This is something that you probably hear from everybody. Not really, but I do think that there is something there. And I think that it comes from few things. In Finland, 5.6 million people. Total in the world, there's a 6.5 or whatever that is, the number. It's a teeny little bit. And then we do have our, it's a really unique language. If you look at the history of Finland, it was under the Russian rule, kind of a semi-independent. And then before that, it was under, the Swedish rule, 600 years. They couldn't handle it. So there's a certain thing in Finland and the Finnishness where, because of the geolocation, and Finland is relatively lately industrialized nation. So after the Second World War really started booming and all that kind of stuff, doing things together and so freaking proud of the national things, whatever that is, from the architecture to the hockey to, technology and all that kind of stuff. So there's a few things that Finns can be really proud of. And that it doesn't matter what kind of person you are in Finland, you mostly are. People always say that, okay, so we are honest, we are trustworthy, we keep our word, and all that kind of stuff. So that probably changes a little bit, but I still think that's there.
What does it mean to be Finnish to you?
Means roots. Late 70s when I was an exchange student, I didn't think that much of how Finnish I am. But alone at that time, I couldn't call my parents. There was no internet, right? There was no cell phones. International calls were really expensive. So I wrote letters. I have a stack of letters now that I wrote weekly explaining or telling what I've been doing and all that. So then my dad called me up, had those discussions, and then you try to fit in, but then you start to figure out who you are. And then comes, you start thinking about your roots and, why are you this person? To me, it was a big way to realize that it's because of my parents, where they from, the east side of Finland. I grew up in Helsinki, so there's a Helsinki always in me, the East Helsinki.
Do you have an American dream?
Sometimes I see American dream as too much regarding to money. And my dream is that I can do the things that I love and I can choose those things. I would include that it's not only your free time, but it's also your work. And I really wish that people would have that luxury. I'm lucky because of that. And I can even sometimes choose the companies I work with. At this age, nobody wants to work with assholes.
How do you measure success with the companies you work with? Is there a clear way for you, on top of, yes, you get to do the things that make you happy,
sure,
but in terms of a founder, a CEO, or an advisor or mentor, what are a couple key metrics that you can see that if I achieve these things, now I'm being successful in what I do?
When I can see that I talked earlier about that they don't know what they don't know, then they know what they don't know, and then they know what they know. When they get to the point when they know what they know, that's one part of success. So I don't have to be all the time, pointing out little things and all that kind of stuff, but it just deepens the relationship in that we can be more strategic from the tactics, if you look at that. So that's one thing, and I love to see them to be successful, getting their companies to the deals, partnerships, acquired, all that kind of stuff. And that has happened with my company, companies I work with. So I'm happy, and I can see that also, that how they talk, how they see the business and the markets and all that. So it's fun to see that yeah, I remember when we did that. So now I can see that. I've seen there's one company, really techie, and the techie founder, and we were in the meeting with Intel. He's talking about what they do, but he did not sell, but he was explaining how things work and all that kind of stuff. And this is an engineering, kind of engineer talking. We always think that the engineers cannot sell, but if you business to business, techie to techie talk, so if you just explain how your product works. And we had these trainings, working on that, don't say that, be yourself, don't change anything. Just freaking explain how this thing works. And that's fun. And I can see this guy going and he's up in the clouds and explaining and really precisely, nicely. I'm in tears watching that my boys, my boys. So we're coming out, I said, dude, that was the best pitch ever. And then he goes, I didn't pitch. So exactly. You just explain, what do you do? And they bought it.
Then on the flip side, as a founder and when you're working in companies like this, especially with startups, it gets very lonely a lot of times, right? And so what are maybe things you've learned on how to deal with that loneliness that comes with the crazy hours or whatever, when you're the sole captain of the ship, so to say?
I have that, but you have to have a kind of a safety network. So my closest safety network is my wife. I don't deal with all the trade secrets, but I do, we talk about things. I have some friends that I can share things that, how do I feel about things and all that. I'm not going to, again, trade secrets, but I'm talking about the process of where I'm stuck somewhere and some other stuff. So you have to have that. And that's what I try to offer for my clients, that you can always call me. Here's my number, call me. If I don't pick it up, I'm probably sleeping or I'm dead. But, call me and don't run around, headless yourself. I'm here because of that. And it does get lonely. And then it's just, what are the next steps you need to take? Don't, if you start planning too much to the future, also, there's a lot of things that you cannot control. Deal first with the things that you can control. Next day, next call, whatever that is. How do I make this agreement? Who would need to call? Don't worry about what follows. So, put it into the bites that you can eat.
What do I need to do to be in your role, let's say in 5 years, for example? What are steps that I should do or focus on to become a CEO, founder, or a mentor for others in the world?
I think one thing is that, listen, take in. This is a great thing what you're doing. You're talking to so many people. So, there's a lot of different things. Some of them are not applicable for you. Some of them are. It'll go into your head and then it starts spinning and all that kind of stuff. Some of those, flow out. Some of them stick. But I think one of the things is really listening is the key. The same thing, in sales. The best salespeople listen more than talk. Because you try to understand what the hell's happening, why are they buying and all that. I think that is one thing. And then, just do things. Various different kind of things. Don't be afraid to fail, If you don't fail, you haven't tried enough. Failure is part of the learning, the whole thing, and don't just give up. There are times that people are not that supportive, you know that, right? But then if you just do things, what you believe is something what you want to do and you believe in, and then you combine that with the listening and some little things that, come, these advices or whatever, that's the best way.
Pekka, we're gonna do a word association play. I'll say a word and you say immediately what comes to mind. First word, blue.
Lake Saimaa.
White.
Snow.
Sauna.
Oh, my love.
Sisu.
Oh, in here.
Black.
Hey, look at me.
Green.
Sustainability, vegan.
Coca-Cola.
Oh, the best drink ever.
The Matrix.
We're in it.
Finland.
Roots.
Love.
Hey, born in the 60s, love and peace.
And what is your last tip for the next generation of entrepreneurs?
Just go out there and do it. Don't give up. Fail and get up and do it again.